Okay, good morning. Faith Fellowship's got a birthday coming up. That's exciting. I didn't know the date. I wasn't here when they started, so I don't know if that helps you figure out the year. I was in Pakistan. We left in the beginning of when did we leave? 15? January of 15. So this would be 10 years. The fall of 15 it started. Whoa, could have been 16. We'll talk to Dell and find out. Double digits, that's a big one. I got a kid who's turning double digits this year as well. Whoa. All right, well, good morning. Welcome back. One thing to add to the prayer list. Rosie's sick. She's not here today. She went to the doctor this morning. She thought she was getting better, and then she woke up worse. She said, I need to go get checked out. So she thought she might have had strep throat, but she doesn't, so that's good news. Got some steroids, so she'll be super strong next week, so for me in our deadlift contest. She's got help now. I had it last Sunday. I was here, and I felt good in the morning, and I just kind of went downhill all day. Went to Pastor Mata's house last Sunday and spent the rest of the evening not feeling great. Then we started a game of Phase 10. Does anyone ever played Phase 10? I think it means like Phase 10 hours, because that game took forever. But for whatever reason, nobody was going to quit. So it turned into a Labor Day Eve party, and because we stayed up until Labor Day. I was at Will's house till after midnight. I'm not a late person. That's not my jam. But I did win. So I am now a late person. It is my jam. As long as I'm winning, I'm happy with that. I started out winning, and then all of a sudden I couldn't get past some phase, and I got stuck there forever, and then different people won, and they totally forgot I was even playing the game. I was so far behind. And I crept back in and won. It just took a whole extra day. We started on Sunday, and then I finished on Monday. So I get to brag about that for a year. We will relive that on Labor Day Eve next year. Actually, that's not true. I'll be back at Pastor Will's house this evening for a missions team meeting, but we will not be there till midnight. So pray that Rosie gets healthy. That's all I was saying. I don't know why I got off track so far. I was not healthy at the beginning of the week, but I'm better now for the most part. So, yeah, praise the Lord. Except my ears still. I had sinus stuff. You know when your ears get plugged up? And then if I start yelling at you guys, it's just because I can't hear my own volume. And then, when they open up, and all of a sudden you feel like, oh, I didn't realize the world was this loud. It's been plugged all day. You ever have that? Well, all of a sudden you go, I can hear things. Okay. So there might be that. If I yell at you, just somebody be like, turn it down. Okay. 1 Samuel 22. That's where we're at. 1 Samuel 22. We've been looking at King David. Now, 1 Samuel 22 carries over from 1 Samuel 21, where we started seeing some of the failures of David in chapter 21. Remember, because he showed up and he lies to Ahimelech. He lies about what's going on. And we talked about that. He put Ahimelech in a bad position. Now, we're going to see the consequences of that today. And that's the first thing to point out. Some time has passed. David's living in a cave. We talked about that last time. And last time we talked about coming out of the cave. It's time for David to come out of the cave. That's where 1 Samuel 22:5 took us. Get up and get out of the cave was the last time we were in Samuel. But now we're going to see the consequences of David's lying. And I've mentioned it already, and we'll read it here in a second. Should I just spoil it right now? Everyone's going to die. There you go. Spoiler. Everyone is going to die. And, a little bit of time has passed, and we'll look at that. But here's the first thing that I want you to know right up front. Sin's consequences may not always appear immediately, but they're always there. See, sometimes we sin, and we think we get away with it in the moment. And the reality of sin is in the flesh, it's usually a pretty good deal, Moses recognized it, that there's pleasure in sin for a season. Sin is fun, but he also said, I don't want to be a part of that. I'd rather suffer with God's people because the bill always comes due. And sin, when we start, especially with lying, we're writing bills that we can't cash. That's the way most sin goes. We're just writing bills that we can't cash. And the bill comes due, and that price on this bill. Now, I'm not saying it's all David's fault. It's not David's fault that these men are going to get killed. Saul's wicked. Saul's going to murder a bunch of people in this chapter. But David, at the end of the chapter, he recognized it, and he's going to call out. He goes, it's my fault that all those people are dead. That's kind of on me. Right? And so the consequence comes, and it comes a little later, and sometimes the consequence, not sometimes, always the consequence of sin is much greater than what you anticipated. Right? You thought you made a deal with your flesh. You thought you made a deal with the devil. You thought you made a good deal. And then all of a sudden, you find out the bill's a lot higher than you expected. You're like, 900% interest? That's worse than American Express. They're only at 200%, or wherever they're at, right? All right. We're going to look at the key people in this chapter, and we're just going to work our way through the rest of the chapter. We're going to bounce back and forth between characters as they bounce in the chapter, and we'll make some observations here. We're going to look at Saul's leadership is primarily what we're going to look at, and really it's a failure. And we're going to look at how not to lead. Maybe we'll see some character qualities of what he's doing, and maybe you're going to recognize that's real in your life. And so these will be things that we want to work out of our lives. And when we say leadership, that could be in a job position. Some of us are in like later job phases in life, or maybe you're getting promoted and putting into leadership positions. But it could also be parenting. If you're a father, a mother, you're a leader. It could be in your spousal relationship as well. These leadership principles will apply to the way you engage with your spouse as well. So there's applications to everybody. Maybe you're a discipler, right? Then you're a leader. Everybody's got some way to take and apply. So we're going to start in verse 6, because that's where we left off last time. So 1 Samuel 22:6. And when Saul heard that David was discovered, and the men that were with him, now Saul abode in Gibeah under a tree in Ramah, having a spear in his hand, and his servants were standing about him. Then Saul said unto his servants that stood about him, Hear now, you Benjamites, will the son of Jesse give every one of you fields and vineyards, and make you all captains of thousands and captains of hundreds? That all of you have conspired against me, and there is none that showeth me that my son hath made a league with the son of Jesse, and there is none of you that is sorry for me, or showeth unto me that my son has stirred up my servant against me to lie in wait as at this day. We'll pause right there and we'll start looking at Saul's leadership. The first thing we see right here is where is Saul? Saul in verse 6 is in Gibeah under a tree. What kind of tree do you think he's under? A pomegranate tree? Because we saw him under a pomegranate tree a few chapters back. Do you remember that? When's the last time we saw David hanging out with his army? He was pomegranate tree with his army and a priest while what was happening? Jonathan and his armor bearer said, let's go and start a fight. Remember that? So not a lot has changed in terms of Saul's leadership. He's still not leading his people in an effective way. He's there hanging out, and he's got people around him. So he's still under the tree. He's got his spear in his hand as if he wanted to go to war, as if he wanted to do something. But what's the only thing that we know he's been doing with that spear? Throwing it at David. Yeah. So he's chosen a war with the wrong person. He's a wicked man. He's got his spear. He's got all his servants. What? Just hanging out. If they're going to do anything, what are they going to do? We're going to go and get David. Wow, that's really valuable for the kingdom there, Saul. And we do that. We can get off track as adults, as leaders. In our various roles, we can make the wrong person the enemy. We can get all hung up because somebody offended us. We can get all hung up because somebody hurt our feelings, because something didn't go right. And all of a sudden, it's like the whole of our focus, instead of moving forward, I got to go get David, right? So he's found out. They know where David's at now. I we talked about this 2 weeks back. It was funny that his family already knew. They're coming to him. His friends, they already know they're coming to him. So, I don't know. News traveled. Now he finds out. And now look at the very next thing he does. So he's not leading. He's not doing anything. Instead of leading, how does he respond? The first thing that Saul says in this chapter, he says unto his servants, wah, 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 wah. That's basically what he says. He just starts crying and complaining. He's all up in his emotions. So the next thing we see about his leadership style is that it begins with bribery. The way that he leads is he's trying to bribe everyone. Hey, is David going to make you a captain? Is David going to give you land? Is David going to give you a vineyard? What's he saying? All he's trying to do is bribe people into joining into his wicked rebellion. Come with me, and I'll give you everything you want. This is not an effective leadership style. There's a commercial that's out right now. I've seen it a couple of times. I don't know if it's on YouTube or on my TV, wherever. When I'm watching stuff with my kids, maybe you've seen it or you've seen something like it. It opens with 2 children sitting at a table, and they say, okay, so regarding bedtime, 10 o'clock is our opening offer. And then it goes to the parents, and the parents say, no, how about 8 o'clock? And it's like this discussion or this negotiation on bedtime's going to happen. But then the parents pull out some kind of fruit snack, and they're like, ta-da, you get fruit snacks. Bedtime's at 8. And they go, okay, right? Since we get fruit snacks. Listen, bribery is an awful way to parent. This is not an effective parenting method. If your parenting depends on negotiating with your children, you are teaching your children from the get-go to disrespect authority. It is not a negotiation. I am your authority. This is when your bedtime will be, or this is what I expect you to do today. It is not a discussion. Okay? Kid? Well, but so-and-so goes to bed later than me. Great. They decided that's right for their family. And I trust their parents know their kids. And I know you, and I know you need to go to bed at this time. Maybe you don't. Maybe I just need you to go to bed at this time. So I have some time alone or some time to talk to my wife without you crazies awake. So you're going to bed. Right? Okay, so as adults, as parents, as an authority, we should not enter into negotiation with our little kids, not enter into bribery with our kids. If we're saying, hey, we find all kinds of ways to do it, but all of them are dangerous. If you eat your carrots, then you get ice cream. All right? This is a bribery. Listen, I'm telling you to eat your carrots because they're healthy for you, and I know you need them. And I think there's some reasonable space, especially as kids grow, where you want them to be thinkers and you want them to engage in conversation with you, and you do want to teach them to engage with you. For example, with our kids, even since they were little, I realize not everyone likes everything. And with our kids, we told them, you can have 3 things that you absolutely hate and you don't have to eat. And Julian's like, mushrooms! I will never eat a mushroom in my life. And I feel like that's fair. Okay, I'm not going to force you to eat mushrooms, but instead of mushrooms, you're going to get some other vegetable. You do need your vegetables, right? And when they're young, the way you want to train them is you want to train them, yes, sir. The response to the instruction should be, yes, sir. Now, I have kids that are teenagers and preteens, and I do want them to start thinking and to start understanding. And the training is still the same. When I give you an instruction, the answer should be, yes, sir. When you start there with the right heart attitude. And then you can say, Dad, and I have a question. Can you help me understand why we're trying to do that? And I'm okay with that as long as you are mature enough to agree that you will obey no matter what, even if you don't like my answer, even if you don't like my rationale. But also, I want to have a conversation with you. I want to engage in a conversation with you. But it starts with the right heart. If it starts with, Dad, I don't understand why we have to do that. That's not where we start. Yes, Dad, can I ask you a question? That's the best way for you to engage as you start to become mature. And sometimes, listen, kid, the answer is going to be, no, not right now. Because I know things that are going on that you don't know, and we're in a hurry, or this is a critical situation. I just need you to obey now. We'll talk about it later. Okay? Sometimes the answer is, yeah. What's your question? And they say, can you help me understand why we do this? Or maybe they'll say, I feel like I do this more and you pick on me and not my siblings. You'll get a lot of that if you got multiple kids, right? How come I always have to pick up my shoes, but look, so-and-so shoes are already out. Okay, well, let's talk about it. And so I do want them to grow and to mature and to engage, but it starts rooted in the right heart attitude. Saul says, okay, I know what I'm doing is wrong. I'm going to try to get everyone to join with me. I'll give you wine. I'll make you captains of thousands. Who cares what the qualifications actually are for being a captain of 1,000? Who cares what kind of people we have? Saul just says, I'm just going to do it. You come help me catch David. Why didn't you all tell me this? Okay, so bribery is not an effective parenting style. Oh, it's also not an effective spousing style. There is bribery, that we can do as a spouse as well. You don't want to do that. Like spouses, you got weapons. You know what they are. Okay, women, if you're a wife, you already know what your weapon is. Listen, if you're a wife, you already know what your weapon is. And you know your husband's hoping, like, I'm going to walk in the room while she's changing. Win. That's a win. And then you're hoping, like, it just gets better from there, right? You know what your weapon is. If you are using your weapons against your spouse or as a bribery or a manipulation tool, hey, if you do that, then you know what's coming later. Look, that's manipulation. That was sexy, wasn't it? I'm sorry. That was probably a little too far. I didn't want to give you all. Y'all didn't need to know about that. Listen, you don't want to manipulate in your spousal relationship. Husbands, same way. We don't quite have the kind of power and tools that your wives are working with, but you got other things that are going on in your household. Listen, I serve my wife because I love my wife and because Christ instructed me to. Doesn't matter how she's doing today. And a good wife is feeling the same way. I know there's days when I'm getting benefits that she's not super into, but she's just like, you know what? Because I love my husband and God and Christ instructed me. She gives me a lot, and I give her a lot. But it's never a tool. It's never for my benefit. Okay. Well, I'll give you fields and vineyards. Verse 8, that all of you have conspired against me, and there is none that showeth me my sons in league with that son. Oh, this type of language, by the way, all of you have conspired against me. These types of extremes in our communication are almost never true. This is something that I catch my kids doing, and they learned it from me. You always leave your shoes out. Well, it's probably not true. Always? And even if it is, we got to be careful with that all-inclusive language. Every one of you is against me. Well, probably not. Actually, we're going to find here in just a minute, Doeg is definitely not. We want to avoid that kind of communication in our communication with our spouses and our children as well. You never listen to me when I try to talk to you. Really? Never? Never. I know you're frustrated right now and it feels like never, but never? So we need to rephrase those things. If you're talking to your spouse, yeah. I feel like you're not hearing me right now. No, right now? Let's talk about right now. Because that's what we're dealing with, really. We don't need to bring up all of eternity past. Like, since the beginning, you have never listened to me. In the beginning, God created. In the beginning was the Word. And in the beginning, James quit listening to his wife. Huh? What? What'd you say? All right, so watch out for that. Nobody's helping me out. And then he moves into self-pity. This is the next thing in his leadership style, is he's going to use He's going to use emotions. He's going to start turning emotions. He's going to play on people's emotions. In verse 8, none of you are sorry for me. Oh, how come nobody is feeling sorry for me now? Because you're the king. Man up and do king things and stop chasing David. Stop trying to be David. Listen, using emotional manipulation to get people to do things for you it might work in the moment, and if you're using it on your small children, it will, because you should be a lot more developed up in here than their brains are. You can emotionally manipulate your children, but listen, what you are doing is you are teaching them how to engage in adult interactions and engagements. And when they learn that at the wrong stage in their brains don't know how to process that, they hold on to that, and as they get older, you go, I don't know why my son or my daughter is so promiscuous. Because you taught her to be emotionally driven and to manipulate people to get what she wants. And that's how she applied it when she got old enough and realized she's got some tools and weapons. Okay? So we don't use pity. We don't want the passive-aggressive, oh, I guess no one's going to do it. I'll just do it myself. We throw that out there. Oh, no one's going to help me. I'm going to get it done myself. Listen, if you expect people to help you, then just speak directly and tell them. Listen, kid, or listen, spouse. Sometimes Rosie says, hey, I need your help. Yes, ma'am. Sorry. I was disengaged. But standing in the kitchen and going, well, if no one's going to do the dishes, I guess they're not going to do themselves, so I'll just do it myself. That type of passive-aggressive, throw these words out into the ether like the universe is going to come save you. Listen, the universe isn't coming to save you. And you know what all your spouse is going to do? Only thing your spouse is going to do is go, psh. Good. Someone's got to do it. You're not getting sympathy that way. Hey, babe, I need some help. Can you jump in and help me? Oh, that's a much more effective means of communication. Hey, babe, I feel like we're on a different page regarding this thing that's going on with our kid. Can we talk about it? Oh, that's great. Well, apparently I'm the only one in this house who loves our children. Here's Saul, and this is what he's doing, right? But we do it. And if this is the way you're leading your children, then you're going to teach them to do the same thing. And if this is the way you're leading in your marriage, then we have ineffective communication. And again, you're going to get what you want sometimes, because we're about to get Doeg, who's going to step up, and he's going to respond. But in the end, you don't want it. You really don't want what you earned. Okay? You really won't want that. So in conflict resolution, we don't want the self-pity. You don't want the bribery. You actually want to be generous. You don't want to bribe things out of your spouse. Listen, if you are generous, if you are giving, they're going to be like, I have no reason to complain. I have no reason to bribe. I have no reason to manipulate. I just get what I want all the time. And they're going to start feeling like, maybe I should give more. Maybe I'm the problem here. Maybe I'm the one who's not stepping up. Okay, and so he's nobody feels sorry for me. None are sorry for me. That's his words. Why don't you guys feel sorry for me? And you see it here in verse 8. We're going to see it here again in verse 13. Jump ahead. Saul said unto him, he's talking to the priest now, why have you conspired against me, you and thou and the son of Jesse, and that thou hast given him bread and a sword, and inquired of God for him? And he goes on and on. But here's the other thing he did in verse 8 and in verse 13. Everything's a conspiracy with Saul. Everyone's in conspiracy. Now, the priest is in conspiracy. All of a sudden he thinks everything is a conspiracy theory. He's got all kinds of imaginations. All kinds of stuff going on in his mind. All kinds of wicked thoughts where he's going, everyone's against me. Listen, the more we let those thoughts stay put, and the more we let them grow, the more we just become a conspiracy theorist. And conspiracies against our own spouses, conspiracies against our own children are not healthy. Or your boss, or anywhere else. I don't know, if you need a conspiracy, I've told you this before, every once in a while, one time I looked at a flat earthers group on Facebook. Now it pops up all the time. And every now and then I just got to click on it and see some of the crazy things that people say on there and just laugh and go, ha, this is good entertainment. Or whatever your favorite conspiracy is. Pick a whatever, okay? But let's not assume the worst about the people that God has put into our lives, especially family and ministry partners. People in this room, let's not assume the worst about the people in this room. Let's not assume that, well, nobody wants me to get involved in ministry and everyone's trying to hold me back. There's no conspiracy against you. If you need to be held back in ministry, come talk to me. I'll let you know why, and I'll let you know what you need to do to grow. I want everyone growing and engaged in ministry, but there's no secret. And if you are part of some secret Illuminati, Faith Fellowship Illuminati that I don't know about, and you got this little group and you're like, we're going to hold back so-and-so. Yeah, it got consequences. If I find out your secret Faith Fellowship Illuminati, I'm going to try to squash it. Okay? Maybe I'll call Doeg. No. We'll deal with it. We'll deal with it the right way. Give me the next slide. A couple verses here. Listen. They also that seek after my life lay snares for me, and they that seek my hurt speak mischievous things and imagine deceits all day long. And this is what happens. When we allow ourselves to imagine deceits all day long, the only natural outcome of that is that we have to go set traps for people. Act on. Well, I guess no one's going to have a recording then.
No, it's just that.
But instead, we just fixed the problem. Guess nobody takes care of batteries like they should. So someone forgot to charge a battery. Big deal. That's all right. We fixed it. Look at that. All right. Okay. Where are we? Conspiracies. Gate counselors. Listen, you need to become good at not just listening to the things that go on in your head, but actually talking to yourself. This is one of the important things. Talk to yourself about truth. And get counselors that can talk to you as well. Everything's a conspiracy. Okay. Verse 9. Then answered Doeg, the Edomite, which was set over the servants of Saul, and said, I saw the son of Jesse coming to Nob, to Ahimelech, the son of Ahitub. And he inquired of the Lord for him, and he gave him victuals, and he gave him the sword of Goliath the Philistine. Then the king sent to call Ahimelech the priest, the son of Ahitub, and all his father's house, and the priests that were at Nob, and they all came, and they came all of them to the king. All right, so Edomite steps up, right? Doeg the Edomite, he steps up, and he goes, okay, if I'm going to get all these things, I got something to say. I got some info. Now, here's the thing about Doeg. Doeg is just an opportunist, right? He's an opportunist of the worst kind. He's willing to do anything to impress the leader or to get a promotion. Maybe you've got a kid that's like that. Maybe you've got a coworker that's like that. But listen, here's the key thing I want you to know from Doeg. Do not compromise spiritual relationships to get ahead in physical relationships. Do not compromise the spiritual realities and spiritual principles in order to get ahead in a physical world that is dying anyway. And sometimes this is what Doeg is doing. He's trading off the future and he's trading off spiritual principle to get ahead right now. It will never play out. Listen, you want to get that promotion at work, so what do? Well, that means I have to be there more often. My boss is looking for people that are really committed, so I can't make it on Tuesday nights anymore because I got to get that promotion at work. And now they want us to work overtime. And because you have a passive-aggressive boss, just like Saul, who says, you know, I got promotions to give, but I'm just looking for people who love it. There's work that needs to get done on a Sunday, and they're making these passive threats. And so you think, well, I've got to trade that in order to get what I need in this world. Listen, you probably don't need that promotion in this world then. And you definitely don't need that boss. I'm praying you find a new job. You don't want that guy. But we do it in all kinds of ways and for all kinds of reasons, for our kids' sake, for sports, for school, for our own promotions, and we throw away the spiritual in order to grow in the physical and to gain something here. Now, Doeg had some answers. What we know is that Doeg tells partial truth and then he embellishes it, so he gets more favor with the leader. He's a liar too. Psalm 52 is David's response to Doeg. So you can look at that. We could see, we just see it play out here. Not everything he said is true, but let me give you a couple of thoughts here from Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 19 and verse 5. A false witness shall not be unpunished, and he that speaketh lies shall not escape. All right, so we talked about lying once before recently. Just don't do it. Let's not lie, but there will be consequence. Proverbs 29:12. If a ruler hearken to lies, all his servants are wicked. And this is the state that Saul's in. He's going to hearken to the lies of Doeg. And Scripture says all your servants are wicked. Listen, as a parent, if you listen to lies, there's a good chance that all your kids are going to grow up to be wicked. That's tough. That's a hard thing. What does that mean? Real practically, that means when one kid comes crying to me, whether they're my favorite, or especially if they're my favorite, you all act like you don't like some of your kids better than others. It just depends on the day. No one's my favorite all the time, but Nita's shaking her head, but you only have one. It's easy to have a favorite when you only have one. We'll get another kid going and then decide if you got favorites some days, okay? Here's what it means. When one kid comes running to me with a problem, even if I know he's typically a troublemaker, even if I know this one is probably the one that made the problem happen, listen, if I don't hear both sides of the story, if I don't get an opportunity to listen to both of these kids and figure out what's going on, then I'm at risk for hearkening unto lies, right? And when I do that, it produces wickedness in my offspring and the servants and the ones who are following me. I want to model for my kids how to hear a problem and how to respond to it appropriately. And maybe I need to take a moment and acknowledge that. Man, that sounds like it hurts a lot. That's really bad. Let's grab your brother and let's talk through this. I need to know the whole picture. And I want to do that as quickly as I can. The longer I delay things, just the more problems going to be. Or kids have a short attention span. They forget, except in their heart, they didn't forget. They hold that bitterness, but they move on the outside. So we want to deal with that right away. Ultimately, Doeg is going to carry out a massacre. That's what we're going to see from Doeg. And so this is weird. Saul knows where David is. And instead of going after David, he goes, oh, hold up. Yeah, bring me that priest. And that's what he does. He says, bring me that priest, all right? Verse 11, call me the priest. Verse 12. And Saul said, hear now, thou son of Ahitub. And he answered, and he said, here am I, my lord. Priest kind of doesn't know what's going on. He's getting pulled into this. And Saul said unto him, verse 13, why have you conspired against me? He didn't. Thou and the son of Jesse, and that thou hast given him bread and a sword, and inquired of God for him, that he should rise against me to lie in wait as at this day. Is that true? Is David the one who's lying in wait and trying to kill Saul? No. None of this is even true, but okay, that's what he puts on Ahimelech. Verse 14. And Ahimelech answered. Now, how would you answer if you're in this place? You know you're before a pretty unstable king. You know he's trying to kill David. You know this is going to be a hard conversation. This probably isn't going to go good for me. I got this unstable guy, and he's making accusations against me that aren't fully true. The natural response is, I got to protect myself. I got to defend me. Look at what Ahimelech says. Then Ahimelech answered the king and said, and who is so faithful among all thy servants as David? Which is the king's son-in-law, and goeth at thy bidding, and is honorable in thine house. The first thing that Ahimelech does is that he defends David. Even though at the end of the day, Ahimelech will be dead. Ahimelech is the one who needs some defense, and he has probably every right to get up and to defend himself and say, no, that's not exactly true. But he starts by doing what? Defending the Lord's man and defending the things that God is defending. And here in just, 2 verses, he's only going to speak very little. Here's what he's going to do. He's going to let the king know that he's wrong about David. He's going to let the king know that he's wrong about Ahimelech, about him. He's also going to let the king know that he's wrong about himself. So you got David wrong, you got me wrong, and you got yourself wrong. And he's going to call all of that out real quickly. And he's also going to call the king out for making assumptions. In verse 15, did I then begin to inquire of God for him? Be it far from me, let not the king impute anything unto thy servant, nor to all the house of my fathers. For thy servant knew nothing of all of this, less or more. He calls him out for making assumptions. He says, yes, David came, but David didn't tell me anything. And Saul, you didn't tell me anything. I didn't know you were after David. I was in the dark. My job is to inquire of the Lord for people. I'm the priest. That's what I do. But I didn't do it as a conspiratist against you. I didn't do it in league with David. I did it because I was following the Lord. So Saul is working on this assumption. So let's go back to Saul. He thinks everything's a conspiracy. Doeg shows up. All right. Now, where are we at? Okay, we're back on Saul. Very good. Now, he thinks everything's a conspiracy. Then this. He begins with an accusation that he already believes to be true. We just talked about that. You can't start from a position of taking sides. Right? Saul already has the whole thing laid out in his mind. He calls in Ahimelech not to ask him what happened. He calls in Ahimelech and makes an accusation immediately. Right? Okay, the next thing that he does is put the next point up there. Do I have them in the same order as I do on my notes? Oh, it disappeared. Oh, we're going. Okay, that's all right. There we go. Okay, we're in the same order. He assumes motivation. And this is a really dangerous thing as well. Saul makes an assumption about Ahimelech's motivation. Now, I know my kids, and I do know their heart a lot of times. But instead of making assumptions about their heart and their motivation for things, it's better for me to ask them and let them tell me. Now, I can see an action, I can see an event that happened, and we can start there because we know that to be true. But when I start getting into the world where I'm making assumptions about why, what motivated them to do that, then I'm getting into areas that I probably don't know. Son, tell me what you were thinking when you did this. Tell me why you did that. Instead of going, oh, you did this, and because, here's what we'll do. You always, because you. Saul's already got the thing figured out, and he makes an assumption about everything that Ahimelech did. And Ahimelech says, that's not accurate, Saul. He calls him out on it. And it's dangerous to presume that you know why someone is doing certain things. Now, you can judge the action at face value. Then you got to get in deeper than that. Deuteronomy 17, verses 12 to 13. And the man that will do presumptuously and will not hearken unto the priest that standeth to minister before the Lord thy God, or unto the judge, even that man shall die. And thou shalt put away the evil from Israel, and all the people shall hear and fear and do no more presumptuously. Pastor Mitch spoke on the sin of presumption a couple months back. Right? If you remember that, it was on Tuesday night. You guys can jump in and hear that. That was good. But here's what God said. You shouldn't presume And it's funny, who does he call out? Who does he tell us to trust above all people in that verse? The priest who stands before the Lord to minister. What is Saul doing? Everything that this verse instructed him not to do. Trust the priest who stands before me to minister. And he goes, nah, I presume I know what you were doing there. And then the next thing that Saul does is he's already got the end figured out, and he's already decided on his punishment. Saul has decided a punishment for the crime before he's even heard from anybody who's involved in the crime. And we know because, one, in verse 15, Ahimelech asks him not to lay this upon my family. So Saul's probably already communicated to him that I'm holding you and every other priest responsible for this thing. That's what we're going to see happen next. But listen, when our kids or when our spouse, when people offend us, we don't want to start with the punishment. I want to start with figuring out what's going on, what actually happened, and then why. I do want to talk about the heart and the motivation. And then we want to work to the punishment. But Saul goes straight to the punishment before he hears the thing. And in the big picture, he chooses a punishment that does not fit the crime. Now, if the crime is treason, if he truly can prove that Ahimelech was treasonous, the punishment for treason was death. Okay, Joshua 1:18, rabbinical tradition brings the idea that the punishment for treason should be death out of Joshua chapter 1 and verse 18. But he shouldn't be killing everyone. And here's what happens. Verse 18, the king said unto his footmen that stood about him, turn and slay the priests of the Lord, because their hand also is with David. This is all the priests. And because they knew when he fled, and they did not show me. But the servants of the king would not put forth their hand to fall upon the priests of the Lord. And the king said unto Doeg, turn thou, and fall upon the priest. And Doeg the Edomite turned, and he fell upon the priests, and he slew on that day 75 persons that did wear the linen ephod. So the execution of the punishment is that 85 priests are killed because he's mad at Ahimelech. And so this is the next thing that, in terms of a key that I want you to just be careful with. Listen, we want to be gracious. We want to hold standards, and there are times when we need to do discipline, especially with our young kids. We want to discipline them so they can learn to do what's right. But do not penalize people for things that you have not clearly instructed them or explained to them about. If you're beating your kids all the time because they're not meeting the expectations that you had in your mind and your heart, but you've never explained to them, you're going to raise some angry children who will not want to engage with you as soon as they are old enough to do so. Your discipline time is better spent having a conversation with your kid and making sure they understand what was expected and how they failed than just going straight to the rod. Now, they might need the rod as well, or at work. If you're a boss, make sure you're explaining things. And I would say give some grace. If people mess it up, you should start by saying, you know what, I probably didn't explain that very well. I do this a lot. I'm a teacher, and when students come to me and ask questions, my first thought in my mind is always, that's because you didn't pay attention. I know I explained that well. I am an amazing teacher. I learned from myself when I was up there teaching that. That's how good I am. You were setting up your fantasy football team in the middle of class. I have all these thoughts. But when they come to me and say, they go, Professor Fife, I don't understand. I go, okay, I'm sorry. I probably didn't explain it well. Let me do it again. Now, if they keep doing that all semester, I go, okay, let's figure out what your problems are too, right? Parents, instruct before you punish, and probably instruct again. Doeg's going to do it. He's going to kill everyone. Keep going. 85 priests, verse 19. And Nob, the city of the priests, smote he with the edge of the sword, both men and women, children, sucklings and oxen and asses and sheep with the edge of the sword. He's going to kill the entire city. And Jerome writes that it was another 300 people outside of the priests that would get killed as well. Family members of the priests, the entire royal city, plus their sheep and oxen. I mean, you got to be pretty angry. You're pretty vindictive That's like when you get angry at your kid and you're like, and your PlayStation in the trash, and or you see those videos of dads that like throw all the stuff out in the yard, then they run over it with a lawnmower. Like, come on, really? You're that vindictive? You're that upset? You didn't need to kill the whole city of priests. And I'll take away everything you own. You will never have technology again, or you'll never go to a football game again. Oh, really? Don't kill the whole city. All right. But Ahimelech does it. And verse 20, and one of the sons of Ahimelech, Doeg does it. Verse 20, and one of the sons of Ahimelech, the son of Ahitub, named Abiathar, escaped and fled after David. And Abiathar showed David that Saul had slain the Lord's priest. And David said to Abiathar, I knew it that day when Doeg the Edomite was there, that he would surely tell Saul, I have occasioned the death of all the persons of thy father's house. Abide thou with me, fear not. For they that seek my life seek thy life. But with me thou shalt be in safeguard. David acknowledges it. Now Saul's wicked. Saul executes it. But David says, man, I should have done some things differently along the way. Stay with me. I'll take care of you for the rest of your life. Psalm 52, we are out of time. I want you to look at Psalm 52 and look at David's response to Doeg. I want you to take these principles. I want you to think about how you're leading your children and how you're leading your spouse and how you're leading your discipleship. And let's build some healthy leadership. All right? I love you. In Jesus' name, amen.